Imagine a world where high-stakes poker tables are rigged with hidden cameras, where professional athletes and celebrities unknowingly lure victims into losing millions, and where organized crime pulls the strings behind every hand. Now, add federal agents, indictments, and a scandal so vast it could shake the NBA and the underground gambling world to its core. Tonight, we dive into this explosive investigation, where power, deception, and criminal networks collide in ways most people can't even imagine. But that's not all. Across the country, a controversial court ruling has allowed a man accused of killing a political activist to appear in civilian clothes before trial, raising questions about fairness, media influence, and the presumption of innocence. And in Virginia, a 6-year-old student's shocking act of violence has led a first-grade teacher to file a $40 million lawsuit, shining a light on school safety, negligence, and accountability. This is a story of corruption, courtroom drama, and tragic consequences, where every decision by players, prosecutors, judges, and administrators could change lives forever. Stay with us as we uncover the hidden truths behind these cases. In the shadows of New York City, a network of underground poker games has come under federal investigation, revealing a scheme that reads like a thriller. According to prosecutors, this operation wasn't just a casual gamble among friends. It was a carefully orchestrated system, blending technology, deception, and criminal influence. Hidden cameras, advanced scanning devices, and even specialized tables were allegedly used to track the cards and actions of unsuspecting players. Each move was monitored, relayed, and manipulated in real time by accomplices, giving the operators an almost impossible advantage over their victims. What makes the case even more shocking is the involvement of high-profile individuals. NBA players and celebrated coaches, known for their charisma and public appeal, were allegedly positioned as face cards, attracting wealthy gamblers to these rigged tables. Prosecutors claim these celebrities were unaware of the full extent of the scheme, yet their presence added legitimacy and allure to the games, encouraging players to risk massive sums of money. The victims reportedly believed they were competing in fair, high-stakes games, only to discover later that the deck had been stacked against them from the start. The indictment lists dozens of defendants with connections to organized crime families long notorious for illegal activities. Profits from these clandestine poker games, totaling millions of dollars, were allegedly funneled into these criminal networks, further enriching them and expanding their reach. Prosecutors describe how, when some victims realized they had been cheated and refused to pay, certain defendants resorted to intimidation, threats, and even violence to secure the money owed. For law enforcement, this pattern highlights the intersection of technology, celebrity influence, and traditional organized crime, a combination rarely seen at such a scale. The implications of this case go far beyond the poker tables themselves. Some of the alleged activities may have extended to influencing legal sports betting, raising questions about integrity in professional leagues. Investigators are reportedly examining whether players deliberately underperformed in games, manipulated their playing time, or faked injuries to affect betting outcomes. Even minor actions on the court could have rippled into millions of dollars in bets, impacting casinos, sportsbooks, and individual gamblers nationwide. Federal prosecutors see this as a classic example of a sophisticated criminal enterprise. With dozens of defendants involved, the likelihood of plea deals and cooperation agreements is high. Historically, in cases of this scale, individuals often choose to testify against co-conspirators to reduce their own sentences. This could lead to a cascade of confessions, revelations, and additional indictments as investigators untangle the complex web of deceit. For the public, the scandal is both fascinating and alarming. It exposes how technology and influence can turn a seemingly ordinary game of poker into a multi-million-dollar criminal operation. It also raises questions about accountability. If well-known figures can be unknowingly caught up in schemes like this, How safe are everyday citizens in high-stakes environments? Ultimately, this case is more than a gambling scandal. It's a story about power, manipulation, and the lengths people will go to exploit others for financial gain. As the investigation unfolds, the world will watch closely, wondering which players were innocent, which were complicit, and how far the reach of organized crime extends into the arenas we thought were safe. Every revelation, every indictment, and every courtroom decision will have consequences far beyond the tables themselves, affecting not just the accused, but the integrity of sports, gambling, and public trust in institutions designed to protect them. Across the country, another high-profile legal battle is unfolding in Utah, capturing national attention not for its scale, but for the questions it raises about fairness, media influence, and courtroom procedure. Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk at a public event, has become the center of a legal controversy before his trial even begins. While most cases rarely make headlines at the pre-trial stage, this one has drawn scrutiny due to a rare courtroom ruling regarding his appearance during hearings. Robinson's defense attorneys argued that requiring him to wear jail clothing for pre-trial hearings could prejudice potential jurors. They claimed that images of him in an inmate uniform circulating online could subtly influence public perception, making him appear guilty before a single piece of evidence was presented. The defense pointed out that photographs of Robinson at courthouse appearances were being shared widely, including on social media, creating a permanent digital record that might affect jury selection and public opinion alike. In an uncommon but significant decision, the judge ruled in favor of Robinson's request, allowing him to wear civilian clothing during all pre-trial proceedings. However, for security reasons, Robinson must remain restrained at all times. Media outlets are also barred from photographing or recording these restraints. The ruling highlights the balance courts must strike between security and the constitutional right to a fair trial. While most defendants appear in prison attire until the trial begins, this case shows the court is willing to consider exceptions in matters of high public interest. The judge's decision is notable not only for its rarity, but also for what it reveals about his approach to justice. Known for meticulous attention to procedure, the judge requires all arguments to be presented in writing and supported by case law or statutory authority. Every ruling is carefully documented, leaving little room for ambiguity. This style of judging is particularly significant in a case with potential death penalty consequences, where procedural errors could result in appeals and retrials. The pre-trial ruling also underscores the tension between defense and prosecution. Prosecutors argued that keeping Robinson in jail clothing was standard practice for identification and safety, and that changing his attire for each hearing created logistical challenges. Meanwhile, the defense emphasized that the potential harm to Robinson's right to an impartial trial outweighed minor inconveniences, arguing that jurors and the public could be subconsciously swayed by images of him appearing as a prisoner. Public reaction to the case has been polarized. Supporters of Charlie Kirk have criticized the decision as an unnecessary courtesy for a man accused of a violent, politically charged crime. Others argue that ensuring the defendant's rights is a cornerstone of justice, regardless of public sentiment. The controversy illustrates a fundamental principle of the legal system: the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, even in cases that attract intense media attention. As the case moves forward, the pre-trial hearings will likely include detailed arguments over motions, evidence, and procedural issues. Every decision could set precedent for how courts handle similar high-profile cases in the future. Legal analysts suggest that the ruling may influence the way judges across the country consider media exposure, public interest, and fairness in trials where emotions run high and the stakes are enormous. Ultimately, the Tyler Robinson case is more than a courtroom story. It is a reflection of the challenges in balancing security, transparency, and justice in modern society. With cameras, social media, and public scrutiny constantly at play, Courts must navigate these complex issues carefully. The decisions made now, long before the trial begins, could shape both the outcome of this case and broader discussions about fairness, media influence, and the rights of defendants across the country. In Newport News, Virginia, one of the most shocking incidents in recent school history has sparked both outrage and a legal battle. A first-grade teacher, Abigail Vernern, is suing her school district for $40 million after she was shot by a 6-year-old student, known only as JT. The incident has raised urgent questions about school safety, administrative negligence, and how far responsibility extends when a child poses a known threat. According to the civil complaint, multiple students had informed school staff that JT was carrying a firearm. Vernern reportedly attempted to intervene directly, asking to check the student's backpack, but was refused. She then alerted school administrators, including the assistant principal, Ebony Parker, warning that the child might be armed. The lawsuit alleges that Parker and other staff failed to act appropriately, ignoring explicit warnings and failing to implement even basic safety measures. Shortly after these warnings, the child pulled out a gun and shot Vernern. The bullet traveled through her hand and struck her chest, causing life-threatening injuries. She underwent multiple surgeries and continues to deal with the physical and emotional consequences of the attack. The lawsuit focuses on whether school officials had a duty of care to protect Vernern and whether the danger was foreseeable. The argument is that with several students reporting concerns, administrators should have been aware of the imminent threat and taken preventive action. The defense, however, has argued that privacy concerns prevented them from searching the child's belongings without parental consent, and they describe the lawsuit as an example of hindsight bias. They claim that, at the time, they could not have reasonably foreseen that a 6-year-old would use a firearm to harm a teacher. Critics argue this defense is weak, given the explicit warnings and the serious nature of the claims. In today's context, where school shootings are an ongoing national concern, ignoring repeated alerts from students or staff is increasingly seen as a failure of duty. This case also highlights broader societal questions. To what extent are schools responsible for preventing harm in situations where children possess weapons? Should administrators, teachers, or the district itself bear civil or criminal liability when their inaction results in serious injury? Vernern's lawsuit may set a precedent for holding schools and administrators accountable in ways that extend beyond traditional legal responsibility for students' actions. The civil case also intersects with criminal accountability. JT's mother, Deja Taylor, is serving a 2-year prison sentence for child neglect related to the incident. This illustrates a trend among prosecutors to expand liability to parents and guardians when children engage in dangerous behavior. Some experts predict that civil cases like Vernern's could encourage school districts to adopt stricter safety protocols and more proactive measures to prevent similar tragedies in the future. For educators across the country, the case serves as a warning and a call to action. Teachers are often expected to manage classrooms, enforce rules, and ensure the safety of dozens of young children, sometimes without sufficient support or guidance. When administrators fail to respond appropriately, the consequences can be devastating. Vernern's lawsuit, while deeply personal, carries implications for schools nationwide. It challenges the balance between children's rights, parental responsibilities, and institutional accountability. As the case moves toward trial, courts will need to weigh questions of duty, foreseeability, and negligence carefully. The outcome could influence how schools handle warnings about potential threats, how administrators are trained to respond, and how legal responsibility is assigned in future incidents involving minors. Ultimately, this case is more than a single tragic event. It is a reflection of systemic challenges in American education, the complexity of liability when young children are involved, and the high stakes of ensuring safety in environments designed for learning. Every decision in the courtroom may ripple far beyond Newport News, shaping policies, expectations, and protections for teachers and students across the country. As the investigations into these high-profile cases unfold, a pattern emerges. Each story illustrates not just individual wrongdoing, but systemic complexities in law enforcement, legal strategy, and public perception. From underground poker scandals involving organized crime to courtroom controversies and shocking incidents in schools, the common thread is the way decisions, by defendants, administrators, or authorities, shape outcomes in profound ways. In the case of the rigged poker games, federal prosecutors are deploying a meticulous strategy. With dozens of defendants, including public figures, the approach is multi-layered. Investigators are gathering evidence of technological manipulation, witness testimonies, and financial records to build a case that demonstrates coordination and intent. Prosecutors understand that cases of this scale rely heavily on cooperation agreements. Historically, individuals caught in sprawling criminal networks often choose to testify against co-conspirators in exchange for reduced sentences. As a result, investigators anticipate a chain reaction of confessions that could unravel the network further, potentially exposing additional actors, hidden connections, and more sophisticated schemes than initially imagined. The ripple effect of these investigations extends beyond the poker tables. Allegations that professional athletes may have influenced legal betting outcomes raise questions about the integrity of sports. Even subtle actions, such as faked injuries or bench decisions, could have influenced thousands of bets, impacting casinos, sports books, and public trust in professional leagues. Sports organizations are now under scrutiny, pressured to demonstrate accountability and reinforce ethical standards. Congressional oversight may follow, with league officials required to testify about preventive measures and potential conflicts of interest. In the Tyler Robinson case, legal strategies are equally critical. The pretrial ruling allowing him to appear in civilian clothing demonstrates the importance of perception in court proceedings. Defense teams are keenly aware that media coverage and online exposure can shape public opinion and even influence jurors subconsciously. By securing this ruling, Robinson's attorneys are working to protect the presumption of innocence and prevent undue prejudice. Meanwhile, prosecutors must navigate a complex environment, balancing security concerns, media restrictions, and the pressure to pursue justice in a case involving potential death penalty consequences. Every procedural motion, every piece of evidence, and every courtroom decision is being carefully scrutinized, as mistakes could be grounds for appeals or delays in the trial process. The Virginia teacher lawsuit also highlights strategic considerations. Civil attorneys are leveraging questions of foreseeability, duty of care, and administrative negligence to hold the school district accountable. By connecting the failure to act on explicit warnings with the severe outcome, a teacher shot in the classroom, they aim to establish a precedent for institutional responsibility. At the same time, defense strategies rely on technical arguments around privacy, protocol, and hindsight bias. The interplay between these positions may redefine legal standards for school safety and liability in the years to come. Taken together, these cases illustrate how modern legal challenges extend beyond the courtroom. Media coverage, social perception, and systemic oversight all play pivotal roles. The public's understanding of justice is shaped not only by verdicts, but by how investigations, hearings, and reporting unfold. For authorities, the stakes are high. Prosecutors must demonstrate competence and fairness, judges must maintain procedural integrity, and defense teams must protect their clients' rights under intense scrutiny. Ultimately, these stories reveal the intricate dance between law, public opinion, and institutional accountability. The legal outcomes will impact individuals directly involved, but the broader consequences may reshape policies, safety standards, and public expectations. Every strategic choice, from plea agreements to pretrial motions to civil claims, has the potential to influence the way justice is perceived and administered, leaving a lasting imprint on society. As these high-profile cases continue to unfold, one clear theme emerges: The impact of human decisions, whether by criminals, educators, or the justice system, can ripple far beyond the immediate events, shaping public trust, policy, and societal norms. From underground poker rings and courtroom rulings to shocking incidents in schools, each story illustrates the delicate balance between accountability, procedure, and ethical responsibility. In New York, the alleged poker scandal exposes the intersection of technology, crime, and celebrity influence. The defendants, including organized crime members and professional athletes, illustrate how carefully coordinated criminal enterprises can exploit unsuspecting individuals for financial gain. As federal investigators continue to gather evidence, it is likely that cooperation agreements and testimonies will illuminate the broader network. The case may also lead to stricter oversight of sports betting and highlight vulnerabilities in public perception, forcing leagues, regulatory agencies, and law enforcement to reassess safeguards and accountability measures. Meanwhile, the Tyler Robinson pretrial ruling in Utah demonstrates the critical importance of perception in high-profile cases. Allowing him to appear in civilian clothes protects his presumption of innocence, ensuring that jurors and the public are not subconsciously influenced by images of a defendant in inmate attire. Yet this decision also underscores the challenges courts face when balancing fairness, security, and media exposure. Judges, prosecutors, and defense attorneys must navigate a landscape where public scrutiny can complicate legal proceedings, making procedural precision more important than ever. The case is a reminder that justice is not only about verdicts, but also about perception, procedure, and the careful safeguarding of constitutional rights. In Virginia, the lawsuit filed by Abigail Vernern following the shooting incident highlights the human consequences of negligence and inaction. The case raises difficult questions about foreseeability, duty of care, and institutional responsibility. By holding school officials accountable, the lawsuit may set new legal precedents that influence policies nationwide, ensuring that schools implement more effective safety measures and respond appropriately to warnings. It also reflects a shift in how society views liability, expanding responsibility beyond the individual to include institutions tasked with safeguarding vulnerable populations. Taken together, these cases offer lessons that extend beyond the immediate legal battles. They illustrate the importance of vigilance, ethical decision-making, and proactive measures in preventing harm. In criminal investigations, attention to detail, thorough evidence collection, and strategic prosecution can disrupt sophisticated criminal enterprises. In civil and criminal courts, procedural safeguards, fair hearings, and media awareness protect the rights of defendants while maintaining public trust. And in schools and other institutions, recognizing threats and acting decisively can prevent tragedies and save lives. The broader implications are profound. In an era dominated by technology, social media, and high-stakes financial and political interests, the lines between personal decisions and societal consequences are increasingly blurred. Every action or inaction can have cascading effects that extend far beyond a single courtroom, poker table, or classroom. Policymakers, law enforcement, educators, and citizens alike are reminded of the need for vigilance, integrity, and accountability in all spheres of life. Ultimately, these stories underscore a universal truth. Justice is complex, fragile, and deeply influenced by human behavior. Whether confronting organized crime, protecting a defendant's rights, or ensuring safety in schools, the stakes are enormous. Each case offers lessons in responsibility, foresight, and ethical decision-making, and collectively, they serve as a powerful reminder that the pursuit of justice is not just about punishing wrongdoing, it's about preventing harm, upholding fairness, and fostering a society where accountability and trust can thrive.